What's up, everybody? We are live. Welcome back to another delightful episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Sharon Show. Hope you guys are doing well today. We're doing just fine. You know, I'm just gonna adjust this light. Okay. So we have a quote for you guys today. We're gonna be continuing the Alchemist series, obviously, if you saw the cool artwork that I did. Let's see. All right, so let's bring up the quote and then we'll have Sharon weigh into today's quote is here we go. You are loved just for being who you are, just for existing. You don't have to do anything to earn it. Your shortcomings, your lack of self-esteem, physical perfection, or social and economic success, none of that matters. No one can take this love away from you, and it will always be here.
Hmm.
And what does Ram Dass always say? Be here now.
Ram Dass.
Ram Dass. He's all rammed out.
That's funny because those are Robert A. Monroe's initials.
Oh, yeah. That's very interesting, huh?
Yeah. I just finished all three of his books. I mean, I've been listening to them. Finally finished the third one. Welcome, John Chase.
Oh, what's up, John Chase? What's up, Tony? What's up, Sharon? Oh, wait, you're in the chat. Hey, no. That must be, oh man, isn't it? There's, when you, here, let me just take the quote off and then we'll actually talk about the quote too.
Well,
Where's
we
my,
could talk about the quote too, but yeah.
I was just gonna say there's like a sadness that happens when you finish a book because you get so into it and you just want to keep going. That happens
I
a
want
lot
to
with
keep
fiction
going. So
too,
I'm going to
more.
listen to them again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to start back from the beginning. First book.
that's a great idea.
Because now, I'll hear it with new ears and see it with new eyes. Because now I know this kind of the gist of it, and then I'll pick up on things I didn't pick up on the first time around.
Yeah, I always do that. I mean, I do that with
Yeah,
fiction a lot too now, as we all know and I talk about, but and it is amazing as long as the work and if it's something that like you're reading or like the Bhagavad Gita or a really good fiction work, there is so much in there and they're telling you so much in the beginning sometimes and you don't always pick it up until you get to the end and you come back and then you're
mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah. So yeah, that'll be a cool journey.
That even
Uh,
happens to me while I'm because I sometimes I'll listen and then I'll go back to the ebook and I'll read through what I just listened to. And I definitely pick up a lot more once I read through it again. And then I'm like, oh, wait, that's why he said that. Okay, yeah, makes sense. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
so
probably get the auditory and the visual. It's a really great way to do it, I bet.
yeah, I do because I think I need both.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, your quote, I
Yes.
don't have it with me, so I can't
Here, I'll bring it back up anyway.
reflect
And
on it.
I could actually drop it into Telegram as we're chatting about it.
Thank you.
I you know I got inspired today to put a quote by Ram Dass because I feel like everything that this guy says is just not only is it a little bit of wisdom like everybody, but it's just makes you feel good. Like I feel
It's
like
very loving.
his whole message is to I dropped it into your
Thank you.
TG
Got
for
it.
you. You're welcome.
Got it.
Is to just make you realize, and it's the thing that we talk about in this all the time, which is be easy on yourself, be cool because this whole, there's all these conspiracy theorists and stuff. They talk about the slave system that we're in, and it's all terrible, but the slave system works. It's not, if there is one to point to, you can't really say that it's held together by like machine guns and people with guns and the physical. It's like a mental thing, right? People have to be okay with it and accept it because if they didn't, then they would just go crazy and riot and you'd never be able to control them, like so. Anyway, this whole mental slavery, whatever, it starts. right there with your brain, with yourself, just by you always inside having this doubting voice or whatever. This little voice is like taking shots at you, and it's like chiseling down your self-esteem. And that's what we talk about all the time. And that's why I like Ram Dass, because he's always constantly battling that. Like he gets that so much, I think. And
Yeah.
I've heard it
He
from several different angles, and it just makes so much sense. But yeah, go ahead.
he definitely battled a lot of that stuff. And I recently, in the last several months, came across some articles about his death. And, it's kind of sad. Um, Not that, you know, it, I guess okay, so here's the interesting part. Um, I went looking for, I can't remember why I was looking for something about him. And then I came across some articles about like his death and dying and whatnot. Oh, that's why, because I was looking up the other guy who's Rameshwar Das.
Oh, all right.
And I was like, wait, who's Rameshwar Das? So I was looking him up. And because of him, I came across some other articles. And what was interesting was that the one article that I was trying to find was no longer available. Like that website had taken it down.
That's so weird when that
It's
happens.
so weird. And it was about his death. Like it's like they didn't want people to know about his death. And so I tracked it down. I was like, how do you find a Google cache? How do you find the cache of an article that was once on like searchable on Google and somehow is able to find it? So I
Nice.
saved it as a PDF somewhere. I have it. But the interesting thing and the sad thing is that he did still die kind of in fear. He he wasn't able to, do as he preached, which was to not fear in
Oh,
death.
really?
Because he suffered,
Oh,
he was suffering and he couldn't breathe very well. And so I think he felt like he was suffocating as he was dying. It just wasn't a comfortable death for him. And he struggled. And that's the sad part. But the hopefully, he's found his way afterlife and he's hopefully doing better
well,
in the other
he,
place.
yeah. I mean, if you really listen, and I'm not saying, Sharon, that you don't listen to what he's saying. It's funny, but if you really listen to what he's saying, and I think you'll agree, you'll hear it in a lot of his lectures. There is, again, going back to that little voice, that little adversary, right? He does cut himself down a little bit and he will talk about his shortcomings, and he like us, right? We're preaching to the choir. So
Yeah.
I think that's what happens when people start to put somebody on a pedestal is you start to be like, well, he died, not you, Sharon, of course, but people will be like, oh, look how he died. It's so terrible and all this stuff. But I think if you look at it overall, it was his obviously his life was like a great message and a beacon for
Yeah.
people, right?
What
Yeah.
he contributed in his lectures and his books and all those things,
And
they are
maybe
they're very beautiful. I like listening to them.
And maybe if he didn't have, maybe he put up a little bit of a facade when he was talking about this stuff and he didn't practice it as much in his life or just have that full belief, right? But maybe that little lack of belief is what drove him to want to spread this message so much, right? Like we don't realize how it happens. So we think this dude, Ram Dass, is, oh, he gets it. Look at what he's talking about all the time. But what do they say? Those who know
Yeah.
don't talk, right?
Yeah.
So maybe he was just on the cusp and he never quite got it, but he did, but he didn't,
Yeah.
right? But
And
because of
he
that,
wasn't
well, I'm just saying, but
go ahead.
because of that, he spread the message because maybe if he did totally get it, he would just hang out somewhere and not even fucking spread the message, right? We wouldn't even know who he is. So anyway, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. But he, when he did talk, I don't I never got really an arrogant vibe from him
Yeah,
because he
exactly
was
right.
always taught, so he already was telling you like, I'm not your guru. I'm just telling you from my own experience. This is how things go, and it's tough. It's not easy. This, you have to let go of those things. You have to be able to transcend all of that. And I'm a living witness that it's not easy. Basically, is, that's how he lived his life.
Up until his death, and that's
Yeah.
what a great message I feel. And yeah, exactly what you said, Sharon. That's exactly what I meant, right? He's kept saying the whole time, I'm no, I don't know. He's like, I screw up all the time, which is great. That's what you want in someone who you're getting information from, you know? And like you
Yeah.
said, I'm sure he
The
definitely figured
humility.
out after he crossed over, he probably started laughing. He's like, oh, I let it happen. Like,
Yeah. We don't know. Maybe if we figure out how Robert Monroe uh does the out of body experience, might go look for him and see how he's doing.
yeah. Yeah. And interesting though, interesting stuff about Ram Dass. I didn't know that, I guess. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think you would have known it because it wasn't, the article was by a guy who was helping him out where he was living at the time. Was it Hawaii or something?
Yeah, Hawaii.
Wherever he was, in his compound or whatever, there were people there who were, taking turns watching over him and caring for him. And this guy had that shift. He had the shift where the guy, where
Oh,
Ram Dass ended up passing on. And so he
so he
talked
kind of,
about it, and maybe people didn't like that he that he talked about it.
yeah, that's
Mm.
totally possible, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
but
this, yeah, especially
yeah,
if it's not what, because that people, they're all concerned with PR and all that stuff. Now,
yeah,
anyway, whatever. I get
yeah,
it.
for a dead guy.
I know. Well, because they want his
But
books to still sell.
yes,
Because
they
if he
want his
died
books
in
to
the
still
wrong way,
sell.
then he's
Yeah,
not.
he didn't die in the right way, so don't tell everybody. Then his books won't sell.
Exactly. But guess what? No matter how you died, Ram
It
Dass will
doesn't
still put
matter.
your quote on the Oversharing show.
Yeah, we still like you. But yeah, back to his quote, you're loved for being like just for being who you are, just for existing. You don't have to do anything to earn it. Your shortcomings, your lack of self esteem, physical perfection, or social and economic success, none of that matters. No one can take this love away from you, and it will always be here. And I will say that after having read Robert Monroe's trilogy, listening and reading, I can tell you that that is even more true. Well, I don't like to use the word true, but it makes a lot more sense and it seems to be more valid, I will say. Um, because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. What if death was a gift? You
Kind
know,
of like for the Numenorians. I'm just kidding.
yeah,
Is that what it was?
exactly.
Because I don't even remember.
You nailed it, Sharon. Your Lord of the Rings. You have contact Lord of the Rings knowledge. Like if a lot of people smoke weed and someone's just in the room, they say they get a contact high. You have like contact knowledge because all this stuff. Yeah, exactly. And this whole life, could it be a gift? It looks like a burden, but remember, everything seems to be inverted. Think of the hanged man. And so if we think it's a burden, where's that coming from? Is it because we're thinking of ourselves as victims? So if we're not, for victors, does that mean that this is actually doing something for us? It's like when we're in the gym or whatever, when you're working out, whatever your choice is, if you're hiking or bicycling or whatever you're doing, when you're at that point of highest resistance and you're going for it and you're sweating and it hurts, that's what this is right now because you're building yourself to be something better, could it be? And that's why I like this realm because we can make mistakes. That's what this is all about. It's about making mistakes and pursuing your feelings. So then you know with your whole being that this is what you want to do because you tried everything else and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it all makes sense. It all falls into line. And what you're saying, um, with these books that you're almost or that you finished,
Yeah,
uh, it just seems to resonate with the same thing, you know? It's like
it
belief.
does. It's all it's based on belief. Like your own experience and what you're going to encounter is based on belief. And if there's fear in your belief, you'll experience the fear. You'll experience not being able to do certain things or experience certain things because of the fear.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead if you're not.
um, but yeah, is there anything else you want to say about that? I was shuffling earlier and a card fell out, and
Ooh.
I
All right,
think you're gonna.
one last thing, and I'll let you.
Yeah, no worries. Take your
So
time.
we're talking about unconditional love here, right? So we're when we talk about self-love and getting to know yourself and having love for yourself, the difference between conditional and unconditional love is if you only show yourself love when you do good or something you perceive you get something done, that's conditional love. If
Mhm.
you're able to love yourself no matter what you do, if you're able to love yourself, if you go out and get hammered and drink and,
And eat all the desserts
and
on
you
the
wake up
table.
and you
No,
feel like crap, but you're still able to love yourself because you realize that for some reason,
you
even though
had to
maybe a
do that.
mystery to me, I had to do that. And this again isn't for enabling people, but if you have to do it, whatever. But this
You're
is
gonna
what
have to do
conditional
it till
love
you're
is.
done.
Yeah, you love yourself no matter what. And I think that's when the behavior starts to change when you realize that you're perfect and you can have this unconditional love for yourself, and then you could share it with others around you as it becomes comfortable. Just follow the omens, everybody. It's crazy. They're everywhere. Speaking of omens, Sharon, take it away.
Yeah. So check out this lovely card that I found that fell out of the deck.
The
The ch-
chariots.
the
Oh,
chariot, number
okay.
7.
Here, I'm just gonna pin you for 1 second so they could at home pause it. That's a cool card. Um, Great. So, what can we
Did you
say?
look?
Card number 7. I mean, it's a major arcana card. We felt we had a discussion earlier before we began, everybody, and I will say I do. We put the times for 202, and occasionally or whenever they are, and most times are a few minutes late. But I will say I do apologize. But I will say at least we get them started right away, and we don't fake you out. And you see, oh, my favorite person's live, and then you go there, and it's just like a half an hour of like
To Yeah, of music.
we won't do that to you here. Anyway, everybody. So yeah, when you could always trust when you get the alert that we go live that we're actually live and we're here. So yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, 7, we were having a discussion about this deck before. We like the colors. It's very Art Deco. Oh, I like that here. Sharon pulls up a
We keep talking. Well, just leave it and
no,
talk
I think
about
I'll be all right. All right, cool. Yeah, a much. Oh, it is going back and forth. All right, well, people can pause it later if they want. I'm gonna go back to us. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Major Arcana card number 7. It's a uneven number, so you're gonna see a little bit of chaos, a little hecticness. There's movement, maybe that can also be seen, as an uneven card. It's not stationary; it's moving. Um, it is all about movement too, this card, but it's movement in the right direction because if you don't get in the Rider Waite card, it has the two sphinxes and they're different colors and it could represent different energies inside us, maybe masculine and feminine, for example. And if you don't get those properly aligned, then you're not going to go anywhere with your chariot. You're just going to spin in circles, as they say. So, and also I feel like we're in this age of the chariot. People talk about different ages. Is it the age of Aquarius? When does the age change? Well, if you look outside your window, guess what? You see people driving everywhere. And everybody almost drives and has a car, has some kind of chariot.
chariot.
And it's now more than ever. I mean, I think more people now have cars than used to have horse-drawn carriages and stuff, like so uh think about how that relates to this card and the movement and all that stuff and getting where you need to go. And most people in society not being properly aligned. What does that say? They're just spinning in circles. So although in the physical it looks like they're going somewhere, they could be going to work and back or whatever. Could it be that they're trapped in these cycles, or we're, all trapped in these cycles or whatever? But think about that, how it has to do with the age and then also yourself. What kind of cycles can you be trapped in? And what does that have to do with movement and proper movement and all that stuff? But I was thinking about that the other day. So it's so interesting you pulled the chariot because I was thinking about how we're in such a chariot age right now. Everybody almost has a car, and drives.
Can you tell what is in front of him? Like I see the wheels to the side, right? But I don't know what that stuff in the center is.
I was trying to figure that out too. Sometimes they just have like funky things in these cards. It could represent
Yeah.
like a portal or something, maybe.
Yeah, who knows? Can't quite tell. But he has a sword and it looks like on the sides of his outfit there's like two moons or something or faces. It's kind of hard to see, but you see those orange things?
Uh, let
And
me
they're
see if I could find one. Let's pull up a picture of it.
online.
Let's
Yeah.
let's go to the internet. I don't know if you guys heard of this. Interesting side note. You know, how people. I don't even know what's going on in the world, but sometimes people are afraid like the internet will go down. And I was Elizabeth, and I'm like, if the internet went down, we'd be fine. We got so many records. We'd be great. I'm like, just Sharon and I would just have to do our podcast over the phone, and, like some do party calls. Like that'd be fucking hilarious. Or we'd figure something out, but. My life, I mean, work-wise and stuff would be rough, but I could still play music at weddings and stuff. I don't think I'd be that affected. I'd probably just go to the woods more. So I don't know. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So there I go. I have a little less fear in my life. Go me. All right. So we're looking for the chariot in the Aquarian deck. The chariot. Do you have anything you want to say about the what I said about the age of the chariot? Because you kind of look like you perked up a little. I don't know if you had any
Well, I was
thoughts.
just gonna say this is the Aquarian tarot because
Oh,
right, you were talking about the age of Aquarius. So
yes. That's right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out like what I don't claim to know what age it is or any of that. I think I heard the song Age of Aquarius, so I was
oh
saying it.
yeah.
I'm just for our audience. Okay, let's see here. Let me just pop this out so I don't have to share all of my tabs. Thank you. This is a good clear picture too. Thank you to whoever put this online. Shout out to you. Okay. Look at
Mhm.
that clear. Oh, I see him now. I could see the faces. Does
You
everybody
see
see
the
it now? This is what Sharon was talking about. Yeah. That definitely looks like something I would draw. The thing in
like
the
half
middle, I love
moons.
doing those overlapping spheres or whatever. It looks like bubbles or,
It
you know,
kind of reminds me of Zentangle,
yeah.
those little bubbles and the lines.
And the two things holding the chariot together, they look like two pots, like half of like pots or something. And maybe it's just like represents these two different realms opening and meeting in the middle or something, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
I don't know what those things are. Yeah, maybe.
That's the beautiful thing about art though. That's what I like about the tarot and different representations of it because, art is up to everyone's own interpretation. That's the word I was looking for. So,
Yeah.
artists live in the future. I had this whole like download, I feel, or whatever, just realization that people who are artists and anything you do when you're an artist, especially if you're like on the edge of things, you're living in the future, right? Because you don't like what's going on and you're like, I'm just gonna make this a better place. And then people who are like comedians, they're living right in the present because they're trying to point out what's going on to everybody who's stuck in the past and wants to keep it that way. And the comedian or other people that are, social whatever, commentary people, they're pointing out what is real, like Owen Benjamin or whatever. Like, no, this is what's really going on from their point of view, obviously. And then most people are just stuck in the past, refusing So that's why it's good if you can make them laugh because then you could bring them forward a little. And I think that's why artists are so undervalued in their time. You know, like after like they're just scorned and everyone hates them, and then when they die, people find their stuff and it's worth like millions, you know? So I'm thinking about all this stuff that like my wife might have, all this poetry or like drawings and stuff I have. I'm like, in the future, people are gonna find this and get millions. I'm like, I can't even get like $10 for it. I'm like, can I just get a meal for this? I think it might be a premise. It's like we're in the future. Like you're gonna love it soon. Trust me. Anyway, yeah. I mean, so invest in my art, everybody. It's better than investing in I don't know what's going on in the market. I guess it tanked. I don't even. I know we don't talk like
I don't
current
even
events,
know.
but I only know because I was at a gig and they mentioned it. I was like, whoa, must have been bad. Yeah. So, but the oversharing stock is going through the roof. So you guys can invest morelawsmoreproblems.com. Click on the overshare tab and you can invest in our uh
Show.
reality tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're helping us
There you
build it
go.
and you could come with us to the future that you want to come to being a
Yeah.
victor. Yeah.
We're all building egregores
You
and
don't need us though,
tunnels.
everybody. Just let us, you could do it yourself. But you could support that's what's wrong. Hang on, everybody. Pause the show.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
The the Great
You could
Pyramid
support
Scheme.
the Great Pyramid Scheme. I should see if never mind. I'm gonna say that off air. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't like to give away our ideas on live. Uh, what if there's a way to slice bread? I think we'd make a million. No. Um, all right. So yeah, I love that card, right? To bring it back to that. Great card for what's going on right now, So, and if you think of it in the terms of alchemy, to bring it back over to the show, 7 is great because you have the 3 and the 4, right? It's all about squaring the circle, right? Yeah, squaring the circle, I think. And squaring the circle is this alchemical process that is kind of impossible to do, but you're always approaching it or something like that. It's this concept, and it's lines up with self-work, right? You're not always you're gonna keep working on yourself, but you're not gonna ever stop, right? Basically, or whatever. It's like you're always trying to attain, we're always trying to see ourselves as perfect. There we go. We're always polishing the mirror, as Ram Dass would say, just to get a better view and have more love for ourselves. Therefore, we can have more love for the world around us. So that's why the 7 is
Sweet.
perfect. And we're talking about this amazing story of alchemy. So,
Kathleen says 7 is for rest and reset.
oh, I like it. What's up, Kathleen?
Welcome
Meow.
to the people in the chat.
Yeah, she's Kathleen says, for me, Chariot card, I used to think the Chariot was a badass card, then I realized all the work and toil involved. Yes. Yeah, let's talk about raising our energies. Exactly. I love it. I love it. And draconian methods, how can I use the Age of Aquarius? I mean, to have some simple, courageous nonsense in my life. Well, honestly, I was just singing the song Age of Aquarius. But I just say just be grateful, and that's how you can use it. You can use anything. Just be grateful for what you have. Sunday, the seventh day of rest. Yes, great point. Ha.
That's right.
Hmm.
That's right. Didn't think of that one.
I love it. Yeah, they should have had like 7 days of work and like 7 days of rest. Come on. Come on, God. No. We worked hard. It's funny too, actually. This would be a good defense if you have a job and they're trying to get you to work every day, and they're like, "Well, you could use Sundays off is good enough." God only had one day. Be like, "What, you trying to say I'm God?" Like maybe God only needed one day off, but Brandon needs more than one day. Oh no! All
And you're
right.
saying you're not God.
Yeah, technically, you're really never taking a day off because you're always creating, right? So I wonder what
Yeah.
that seventh day really represents. Maybe. It's like another sense that we don't have, or maybe it's what happens after you die. I don't know. Okay, enough decoding of the Bible. We're going to be talking about The Alchemist today and continuing reading. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about the card or anything like that? I'm gonna have some
Um,
coffee.
no, I think I'm good.
Cool.
I think we can start reading. I did sneeze and have to cough a second. So maybe you can read for a little bit.
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's get to the show. Thank you guys so much for being here, and let's go. If you're new, welcome. Thank you. We've been reading through The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and we're going to continue to do so and give commentary. So make sure you go back and check out the other episodes, but hang out. If you're new, stick around, see what you think. We just try to make you feel good here. All right. So
Do you
basically,
want
what's
a
going on to
recap?
catch everybody
Yeah.
up? There's a shepherd who had a several set of circumstances, several set of synchronistic circumstances. He's viewing his omens that led him away from his land. He sold his sheep away from his land in Spain over to Africa, and he is in the midst of trying to pursue a way to get to the pyramids because he had a dream that he would find his treasure there. And he also spoke to a couple people in Spain. So right now he's at a point where he lost all, he had lost all his money when he got to Africa. Now he got some more money, had a job, doing really well, put down some ties, and he's at a crossroads really, if he's going to go back to Spain or go on to pursue the pyramids. But I think we all know he's going to the pyramids. All right. So I think that he's going to a warehouse to inquire about making a trip across the Sahara from where he is in Africa over to Egypt. And let's see. Yes, the old king. Okay, so the Englishman was sitting on a bench in a structure that smelled of animals, sweat, and dust. It was part warehouse, part corral. I never thought I'd end up in a place like this, he thought, as he leafed through the pages of a chemical journal. 10 years at the university, and here I am in a corral. Dun dun. Here's
So
the
that's just quickly, that's kind of interesting that it switches perspectives, right? Because
Yeah.
this whole time it's the pretty much the little boy or whatever, the 16, 18-year-old boy, shepherd boy, talking or narrating. And now it switches to, well, it's still a narrator, but now it's switching to the Englishman's point of view.
Yeah.
And I got the song, the Sting song in my head, The Englishman in New York now.
Oh, I don't know if I know that one. How's it go?
Oh, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York.
Yeah, it must be pretty cool.
Yep.
He's from Old York, and
Yeah.
he's now in New York. I see what you did, Sting. I got stung. You ain't gonna sting me. Anyway, no, great. I love great voice too. You're singing a melody with my kitty who's over here meowing his head off because he wants my attention. Too bad, sir. I have a whole cat tower right here. You can hang out and I could pet you while I talk, but you choose to be on the floor, kitty. He's a cat victim. Just kidding. Come here, buddy. All right, so we're picking up, like you said, from the Englishman's perspective. And this is where it gets interesting. All right. But he had to move on. He believed in omens all his life, and all his studies were aimed at finding the one true language of the universe. First, he had studied Esperanto, then the world's religions, and now it was alchemy. He knew how to speak Esperanto. He understood all the major religions well, but he wasn't yet an alchemist. He had unraveled the truths behind important questions, but his studies had taken him to a point beyond which he could not seem to go. All right, so I'm going to stop there for a second. Well, let me just see.
Yeah. And I want to say something too, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'll read a little more. He had tried in vain to establish a relationship with an alchemist, but the alchemists were strange people who thought only about themselves and almost always refused to help him. Who knows? Maybe they had failed to discover the secret of the master work, the Philosopher's Stone, and for this reason kept their knowledge to themselves. And I just want to say, it sounds like he's projecting so hardcore here. Like he's like, oh, maybe they just don't know. They don't want to. Anyway, yeah, we'll take it off. What do you think about that?
So first I noticed that he studied Esperanto, which is a made up language. I don't know if you knew that. So I just looked it up to get the details of it, but it says Esperanto is an artificial language invented in 1887 by
Mm.
L. Zamenhof, who was alive between 1859 and 1917.
And wait,
He's a
when was it
Polish
created? 18.
87.
So he was 28. So a
Oh,
28, right? I'm just thinking, right? Because so a 28-year-old made this language for you guys, just so you know. All right, so go
that's
ahead.
funny. He was a Polish physician and philologist and intended the language for international use. It is based on word roots common to the major European languages. So this guy
Oh.
is over here thinking, I've learned Esperanto. I could travel the world and, speak Esperanto and everybody's going to know what I'm saying. And it's just kind of funny. It feels a little bit arrogant.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. This reminds me of the whole Matthew quote, right? You know, many wise men and all these people have struggled in vain to see what you've seen and haven't seen it.
Mhm.
And this is like one of those guys. He thinks he's gonna get all the book learning. You know, Ram Dass, great, talks about people like this too. And there's nothing wrong with it. You know, I'm not like, here we go, a little more light on my face. I'm not disparaging or judging or whatever. I'm just saying this is a great example of that because he's never going to totally get it if he's just trying to get there academically and logically. You know, he's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. He's like, I had to study all this to learn it. But alchemy, there's really nothing to study. Sure, there's a million books on it. We're doing one right now. And you could study all you want, but you just either get it or you don't, right? It's like one of those things where you either kind of believe. And I feel like that's why this shepherd boy is more, well, we'll see. But you could see, though, even just in this first paragraph or whatever it is about the English guy, you can already kind of see his point of view and how he's missing the point. And as compared to the shepherd boy, he doesn't think he's an alchemist, really. He's not making any labels. He's just kind of going along following the omens. But because of that, he's more of an alchemist, right? It's like somebody who's a priest of a religion versus like a real Christ figure who had to go through their struggles and become a Christ that way, or even the story of Jesus, right? You know, it's like
Yeah. Like it's like a person who goes to like uh those what are those schools that
seminary.
seminary. Yeah. It's like
The
it's
semen
like
schools?
somebody
No.
cemetery schools.
No, I was saying the semen schools. Remember, wasn't that
Oh,
a whole thing with Crow? Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
I don't want to
I
derail the
also
show.
have heard them called cemetery schools. But anyway,
I mean,
um
yeah.
so people who go there, right, and think, "Oh, I'm going to learn it all and I'm going to be the guru of all these scriptures now and I'm going to be able to teach everybody." And it's that guy versus the hermit who's like, I know this stuff because I know it, but I don't have to tell the whole world about it. I don't have to be anybody's guru.
It's like the Tao when it's like when the ordinary man attains wisdom, he's a sage. When the sage attains wisdom, he's an ordinary man, or whatever, you know. Yeah, they just go back to being, they're like, all right, you go full circle. So there's just different ways into alchemy. And, you know, this English guy, who knows? Maybe he gets there one day, maybe he doesn't. We'll see. Maybe in the story, maybe not. But it's just another way you hear things and you want the knowledge and you want to be the expert, right? Or you just want
Go with
to
the flow.
know about alchemy and then just apply it in your life to whatever you do, as opposed to being this alchemist master who then gets all the awards and accolades and people have to bow to you. You know, it's like, what are you looking for, fella?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I could go back. So
Indeed.
I just wanted to, it was a good spot right there. It just really reminded me of that Matthew verse. All right. So he had already spent much of the fortune left to him by his father, fruitlessly seeking the philosopher's stone. He had spent enormous amounts of time at the great libraries of the world and had purchased all the rarest and most important volumes on alchemy, just like I was saying. In one, he had read that many years ago, a famous Arabian alchemist had visited Europe. It was said that he was more than 200 years old and he had discovered the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life. The Englishman had been profoundly impressed by the story, but he would never have thought it was more than just a myth, had not a friend of his, returning from an archaeological expedition in the desert, told him about an Arab that was possessed of exceptional powers. He lives at the Al Fayoum Oasis, his friend had said, and people say that he is 200 years old and he is able to transform any metal into gold. All right, let's stop
Mm.
there because I mean, whoa, right?
Mhm.
So, again, continuing with this theme, he wants to be this master that lives 200 years old and be able to turn, lead into gold. He just wants the domination, and most people want to live as long as they can, uh, and they'll do anything to just, I want to live as long as I can, right? Not as long as God says I should. It's more like about me. And if you think about it, the alchemist probably doesn't even want to live that long. They're probably just doing their dharma. They're not even like, I want to hold on. They're just like, all right, I got to do this for like 100 more years. All right, cool. Let's see what we can do. And then when it's their time to go, they're like, fucking yes, finally. I'm going to walk through the mirror. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.
Make sure you tip your waitress. Have a good night. Have a good
I
life.
was I was thinking about the walking through the mirror thing the last couple days too.
It's, I thought about it too. It's such an interesting concept because the mirror is just a reflection of this world. And if you walk into it like that, you're taking because it's like an acknowledgement that this physical isn't real. This material is just so you just walk right into it and it just folds away. And you're like, all right, see you later. Like this was just an illusion the whole time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm gonna try it at some point in my
I
life.
mean, me too. I
I'm
want
gonna
to try
come on a
that.
show and have like a bandage. What happened? I try to walk into the mirror. Now I got 7 years of bad luck. Maybe that's why they started that rumor so people would stop trying to walk into mirrors. You can only
May-
walk into a mirror once every 7 years. Look at the chariot card, it's all there. No. But let me see. I think there was something else I was gonna say. I was just being silly. Yeah, no, of course. So that's what I wanted to start with, right? He was trying to attain all these worldly powers, all these cities, and I'm gonna make the yeah, wow, that makes me think. You know how when they say that Jesus was tempted, he went to the desert and fasted and Satan or the devil or whatever, Lucifer came and brought him up and showed him all the cities of the world. Cities or cities, like what did something get mistranslated? Maybe he was like,
Mistranslated.
look at all these powers you can have, not earthly cities, but earthly cities. I don't know. So
Hmm.
anywho, people obviously get pulled in by this stuff, these powers and stuff. So, but I think it works to get you interested enough. But if you only want the power, then these
You're
guys are
in
just
it
gonna
for the wrong
turn.
reasons,
Yeah, and they're gonna
basically.
turn you away. They're not
Your
stupid.
your
They're alchemists,
intentions will show.
big time. You're just gonna be broadcasting your intentions. It's like when I go, out with my beautiful wife, and I just sometimes there's just guys that can't help themselves, and they're trying to always look, and I'm just like, she's not even dressed provocatively or whatever, just normal. And it's like, dude, you're telegraphing your whole life, like everybody knows. And it's like we've talked about in the show before, when you display behavior like that, people are gonna know and they could possibly take advantage of that, even subconsciously, and they don't even realize because they're caught in a pattern. So they get attracted to you, and then you get in these relationships, and you're like, why am I always in these relationships? Anyway,
And the same ones.
right? Yeah. So, anywho, where did I attention? Yeah. So, I don't know what I was saying, but yeah, I get so excited. Yeah. So this English guy, he's just kind of, but we'll see though as the story goes. It doesn't, he's still being used or part of this whole dharma that's taken place, right? And he doesn't probably even realize it. So there might have been more. Is there anything you wanted to say about that part? I might have got sidetracked a little, but it'll come back to
Um,
me.
no, I mean we talked about, intention and all that.
Yeah, yeah, it's really important. Mostly, you probably do better if you don't even realize you're trying to become an alchemist, right? It's like if you think you're
Yeah.
trying to become an alchemist, you're probably worse off. But it's cool. You got to get over that too, right? That's all. The Englishman could not contain his excitement. He canceled all his commitments and pulled together the most important of his books. And now here he was, sitting inside a dusty, smelly warehouse outside a huge caravan was being prepared for a crossing of the Sahara and was scheduled to pass through Al Fayoum. How do you say that?
Al Fayoum.
Al Fayoum. I'm going to find that damned alchemist, the Englishman thought. See, I'm gonna get it. He's
He's
like, it's
all
like
upset.
Ramdas, right? When Ramdas talked about that one time, I feel like I'm like a comment, whatever. But it reminds me when he's talked about the Western approach to this, and it's funny that he's an Englishman and it's his approach. He's like, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna get that knowledge, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get a shovel and I'm gonna dig it out and we're gonna get it. I'm gonna get that worldview. I'm gonna go out there and get it. All right. But at least he's going out there. I'm not trying to disparage this guy. He's going to the desert. So, the Englishman thought, I'm going to find that damned alchemist, the Englishman thought. Yeah. And the odor of the animals became a bit more tolerable. A young Arab also looked down with baggage. I'm sorry, also loaded down with baggage, and greeted the Englishman. Where are you bound? Asked the young Arab. I'm going into the desert, the man answered, turning back to his reading. He didn't want any conversation at this point. What he needed to do was review all he had learned over the years because the alchemist would certainly put him to the test. And it's so funny because it's like you're being a dick to people, but what if
Yeah.
that Arab man like knows the alchemist? He's just gonna be like, yeah, that guy's a dick, like you
Yeah.
never
I mean,
know, right?
he's just,
He's
let's
so
see, he's like,
close. Go ahead, you talk.
I'm just kind of rereading that part. What he needed to do was review. I need to review all I've learned over the years. It's a test. And it's like, instead of being yourself and just meeting this, maybe you're like, you know what? If I bump into this alchemist, great. That was in the cards. And I'm just going to be just excited to see him and just get to meet him and stuff. But instead, he's like, I have to pass the test or else he's not going to accept me or whatever.
Exactly. And he's living so it's like the we talk about with the symbolic reality and actual reality, right? He's so close. He's one step away. I censored myself. He's one fucking step away from living real reality, but it's okay. Again, I'm not disparaging him, right? We're just making fun here. It's cool. It's a story. He's not even a real guy. But that's what I mean. And I think it's trying to represent the Western point of view on this. Paulo, hanging out in Brazil, he's like, listen, this is how a lot of these Western people will view things. They try to come at alchemy as like, I'm gonna come and take it, right? Like we were saying.
I'm gonna
So
I'm gonna lasso that thing and
yeah, so what we could do here is use the example of the Englishman. We can make fun of him and laugh and stuff like that. But then we could say, how are we doing that in our own lives? And how are we living one step away from real reality? And how are we caught in the symbols and not actually living the real thing? It's like going hiking with shoes on versus going hiking barefoot. And I'm not telling you have to go hiking barefoot, everybody, but it's like walking in a field with shoes on versus walking around the sand, versus walking barefoot. And he's got his thick hiking boots on and he's walking on the sand near the beach. And it's like, you could have your toes in the water, dude. You're so close. But he's like, I got the best boots, though. He's like, these boots have the highest rating.
these
Aren't
boots are
I
made for
doing good,
walking.
Daddy? Look at me, Daddy. I'm killing it out here with all these alchemy books, Daddy. I'm going to be the best alchemist ever, Daddy. Anyway, so it's like,
Walking on the moon. Another Stinger police song.
I made it to the moon. Look at me, Daddy. So it just goes to speak, and what I'm doing, obviously, is I'm just making a little bit of humor off of all of the wounds or off of the wounds that most of us suffer, the abandonment wounds and stuff like that, as we grow up in the society or whatever. But it's funny when you can laugh at it. That means you could look at it in yourself and accept it as some truth and maybe love it, and then maybe it'll change. Anyway, so yeah, I love that. He's a representation of how most of us would look at alchemy, and that's how it was introduced to me. The first I've heard of alchemy was like it's about turning actual lead into gold, like a physical thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, I think we overshared enough, or I did at least with that one. Do you want to read it all? You doing good, or what?
Sure. Where were we?
I will highlight a spot here. Basically, oh, that's what that's what I wanted to say too. I'm gonna over one quick second.
Yeah, no worries.
So he's living one step away. Okay, so I made that whole point from actual reality. So if he was living in actual reality, he would be more in the moment. In this Arab guy, he'd be like, "Hey, what's up? I'm going to see this alchemist," and they can have a conversation. And maybe the
And
Arab
maybe the air, go ahead.
could tell him or give him or do something or even hold him up enough to where if he didn't get held up by that Arab, something amazing doesn't happen. Something like that. As a true alchemist, if you're turning lead into gold, lead is an experience where an annoying Arab comes over to you and you don't want to talk to him. I'm not saying Arab's annoying everybody. I'm telling you, like, so he's looking at this
That's true.
situation as lead. If he was a true alchemist, he'd be like, how can I turn this into gold? And he could start talking to the guy. I was in a gas station, the other guy had a red dot on his head. So I was like, oh, Hindu? He's like, yeah, it's a holiday. We started talking about that. Turns out he's from Nepal. He's only been here 6 months, but he's also lived in Sydney. So we just talked all about that stuff. I showed him my tattoo. He was like, "Oh yeah, oh mane padme hum." It's great. We had this cool conversation. Whatever, you guys know. I'll show you later. It's weird to see. There it is. I made it so I can view it really well from my own angle. There it is.
Mm,
So yeah, you never know, right? So if he had that, he would be turning that situation into gold, and at the very least, he'd be having a good time, and
yeah.
vibrating on
And
that higher level. And that if the alchemist saw that, he'd be like, "All right, this guy's cool. He gets it. Maybe we could see what he's got."
yeah, using every encounter and experience as something that you can enjoy and be grateful for. Because another thing, what if that Arab guy knows the alchemist guy and he's like, oh, I know where he's at. I'll take you to him, or, I know XYZ, and, he'll enjoy that, that too. And you guys can chat and whatever.
Exactly. You nailed it.
You
It's
never know.
it's really yeah, we're really starting. This is high level, guys. So shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for being here for all
Yeah.
this amazing high level stuff. Let's see. Emmy Lou, thanks, Sharon. She says, no big deal. Hi, Tony. We saw your doppelganger yesterday. Amazing. Lucky guy if he looks like Tony. Tony's a handsome devil. What's up, Tony? How you doing, Tony? Coriolis Storm. You you handsome man. All right. And let's see. Yeah, this is great. We have the best MS. What's going on? We have the best darn chat on the internet, I'll tell you that for sure. What's up, Cody? Oh, he's got all the camels. There we go. Six camels. All right, what are you trying to say? Six camels? Are you
What about the seventh camel for the chariot?
what about resting on the seventh day? Yes. How about them apples? All right.
So one of them has a one hump and the other one has two humps.
Oh, yeah. Here, let's
And
see.
one of them's a dromedary, right? Though I don't know which one has the two humps or one hump.
Oh, and he spaced them. I like it. Even ratio. Yeah, I'm not familiar too much with camels. I have met a few camels in my life, but I never eaten a
I rode
camel.
I rode a camel in Petra in Jordan.
Oh, excuse me.
Very cool.
Talking about your journeys to the alchemy land. Jordan is yeah, it's in that area. It's a little north, right? It's near Israel, right?
Yeah,
Jordan.
I was there and then we made a trip into Jordan to go see Petra. This was in 2012. So it's been
Of
some
course
time.
it was in 2012. It's amazing. We were both doing amazing stuff in 2012. That's when I was like really starting to write, and it's right before I started doing comedy, and I was yeah. So that's crazy. And you were in Petra. Look at us. We've always been legends. All right, I want to go to Petra. Here we go. We just had a girl named Petra in our school. That's all I had, and she was supposedly supposed to be the hottest girl, but I never thought she was attractive. But everyone's like, "Oh, she's so hot," and I'm like, "All right, guys, whatever." That's the only
Whatever.
Petra experience I had, and you got to go to Petra. Must be nice. No, that's what I think of. Because people like fight. It's so weird. So now when I meet people named Petra, I always think of that or the thing. Anyway, funny stories from the life of Brandon,
That's funny.
everybody.
Was she Italian or something?
I
Where's that
honestly I
from?
don't know because
Where's that
I didn't
from?
even know her, because I was
Okay.
new to the
Or
school when I was
Spanish,
a sophomore.
Latino.
She was white from what I
Okay.
saw, so maybe Italian.
Yeah. Yeah.
I stayed away from all those people, not the Italians, everybody, just those the cool people. I was cool, but different in a different way. Anyway, yeah,
Where were
that's
we?
it's just such a weird name. It always stuck out to me. Like I would think of
Yeah.
petrol, like gas. I'm like, what?
Okay, yeah.
You
It's like
know,
it's probably like the female version of Peter.
exactly. And it is a beautiful name. It's just my experience with it was that funny.
It is kind of a funny name.
Mm,
I think of Jordan, so
that would be cool names if you had kids, Petra and Jordan.
oh, that's cool.
All right.
Where were we?
La 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 la. I'm going into the desert. Here we go. Right here is where we're gonna start.
Okay. Yes. Okay, that's right. Because the alchemist would certainly put him to the test. Okay.
Certainly.
The young Arab took out a book and began to read. The book was written in Spanish. That's good, thought the Englishman. He spoke Spanish better than Arabic. And if this boy was going to Al Fayoum, there would be someone to talk to when there were no other important things to do. That's strange, said the boy, as he tried once again to read the burial scene that began the book. I've been trying for 2 years to read this book, and I never get past these first few pages. Even without a king to provide an interruption, he was unable to concentrate. So, just quickly, if you haven't noticed, the young quote Arab is not really an Arab. It's our little shepherd boy. The
Yeah.
Englishman apparently thinks he's an Arab because he speaks Arabic, but he
Because he's
speaks Spanish.
racist. I'm just kidding.
But he speaks Spanish too, and he's reading a book in Spanish. So it's the shepherd boy,
And
clearly.
yeah, and again, he's not in the moment. He's not noticing that, right?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, the Englishman in New York. I'm
There
just kidding.
was there was a reason I interrupted. I wanted to say that he's as an author, I like this because he's giving a break to all the people who could never finish a book. Thank you, Paulo. Like, that part of the book is just amazing. It's a little throwaway thing, but it's like you're right. Sometimes it takes you 2 years to get past the introduction of a book, and it's okay. Thank you, Paulo, for acknowledging that.
Yes,
Sometimes
I've
you got to
done that.
polish crystals and sell them and make money, you don't got.
Right. And then it tells you it's been 2 years since he left his home country where he met the king. It says even without a king to provide an interruption. So it's like been 2 years of interruptions to this book since he met the king in Spain. The
I
rain
heard
in
that the
Spain,
rain in Spain falls mainly in
mainly
the
in the
plain.
plains.
The rain in Spain falls mainly in the plains. Don't don't. I've
I
had
don't
that
remember
song,
the song. Is it from
The
My Fair
Sound of
Lady or
Music, I
something?
think, right?
Oh, The Sound of Music.
I
Okay.
think because we had to sing it in school. I went to Catholic school. So there's these certain songs that I've had stuck in my head my whole life. And sometimes I'd like when somebody's made Spain, just in my head, I would just hear the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. And then do the rain. It was just anyway. So
I don't know the
welcome to my
song.
head, everybody.
I was singing y'all the songs I was thinking about as we were reading.
I felt compelled to share that one. All right. You guys are welcome for that. Did I tell you about Elizabeth sneeze the other day and I said you're welcome? Because I was like on my phone or something. So I was just like, you're welcome. And then we
She
both laughed.
sneezed.
Yeah. She sneezed and I said you're welcome instead of bless you. Like just automatically said you're welcome because I
Yeah.
was doing something else. And it really made me think about how we get caught in whatever it is we're doing and not in the present moment. But it was just
Mhm.
hilarious because I was like, if we were in public and I was just like, you're welcome. Like I just automatically assumed she would thank me for her being okay with her sneezing. I don't know, but yeah, it was pretty funny.
I
Anyway,
always feel like awkward when I don't know why, but like you're someplace and there's people around and then they say something to you and you don't really know what to say, so you kind of say the same thing back. They're just like, "Oh, good day," and or hi or whatever, and you're just like, "Hi, hello." And sometimes you say something that doesn't like make sense and you're like, "Why did I say that?" It's so weird.
I did that at the tobacco shop Monday. He was like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "Good." And I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm good. How are you?"
yeah.
Like, "What's up with you?" Like, "Nothing's up." Like, yeah. He just started
Yeah, I've
laughing me
done
off.
that. I'm just
Yeah.
like, "Why?"
Good. What's up? Goods up,
Um,
I guess. The goods are up. Did you see the market? No, I don't know. Anyway, Brian Regan has a great bit about that. The comedian Brian Regan, a classic bit. He's like the U2 bit. He's like, I can't handle U2. I went to the airport. The cabbie dropped me off. He's like, have a safe flight. I'm like, you too. If you
yeah.
ever fly somewhere someday, yeah. Enjoy your
Yeah,
meal.
it's like
You
enjoy your
too.
meal, you too.
If you're gonna eat in the back.
Maybe just say thank you. It's like just say thank you or
Or just
whatever.
say you're welcome when they sneeze. You're welcome. You heard it here first, everybody. I'm
Um,
starting a trend. You're welcome. You got to say it though, like in a matter of fact, like throw it anyway. Okay. So the Englishman. Let's get back to this.
so I'll keep
Let's
reading.
rail this train again. All right. Sorry, everybody.
All right. He still had some doubts about the decision he had made, but he was able to understand one thing. Making a decision was only the beginning of things. When someone makes a decision, he is really diving into a strong current that will carry him to places he had never dreamed of when he first made the decision. That's true. When I decided to seek out my treasure, I never imagined that I'd wind up working in a crystal shop, he thought. And joining this caravan may have been my decision, but where it goes is going to be a mystery to me. Nearby was the Englishman reading a book. He seemed unfriendly, and he had looked irritated when the boy had entered. They might even have become friends, but the Englishman closed off the conversation. The boy closed his book. He felt that he didn't want to do anything that might make him look like the Englishman. He took Urim and Thummim from his pocket and began playing with them. The stranger shouted, "Urim and Thummim!" In a flash, the boy put them back in his pocket. "They're not for sale," he said. "They're not worth much," the Englishman answered. "They're only made of rock crystal, and there are millions of rock crystals in the earth. But those who know about such things would know that those are Urim and Thummim. I didn't know that they had them in this part of the world. They were given they were given to me as a present by a king," boy said. The stranger didn't answer. Instead, he put his hand in his pocket and took out two stones that were the same as the boy's. "Did you say a king?" he asked. "I guess you don't believe that a king would talk to someone like me, a shepherd," he said, wanting to end the conversation. "Not at all. It was shepherds who were the first to recognize a king that the rest of the world refused to acknowledge. So it's not surprising that kings would talk to shepherds." And he went on,
Little Jesus
fearing that the
reference there, right?
right. Yeah, I was going to say a reference to the baby Jesus.
Lord baby Jesus.
Yes. And he went on, fearing that the boy wouldn't understand what he was talking about. "It's in the Bible, the same book that taught me about Urim and Thummim. These stones were the only form of divination permitted by God. The priests carried them in a golden breastplate." The boy was suddenly happy to be there at the warehouse. "Maybe this is an omen," said the Englishman, half aloud. "Who told you about omens?" The boy's interest was increasing by the moment. Everything in life is an omen, said the Englishman, now closing the journal he was reading. There is a universal language, understood by everybody, but already forgotten. I am in search of that universal language, among other things. That's why I'm here. I have to find a man who knows that universal language, an alchemist. The conversation was interrupted by the warehouse boss. You're in luck, you two, the fat Arab said.
How
There's
dare
a
you,
caravan.
Paulo? Fat. Sorry.
He's fat shaming the Arab. Just
He's
kidding.
fat shaming.
There's a caravan leaving today for Al Fayoum, but I'm going to Egypt, the boy said. Al Fayoum is in Egypt, said the Arab. What kind of an Arab are you? That goes to show you how well he learned Arabic, right?
I'm
Because
a
it's
Spanish Arab. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You're
right?
right. Yeah.
Because he doesn't realize he's a Spanish guy.
What a omen, a synchronicity kind of between you and the shepherd, because you have learned some Arabic and you have some Spanish roots, or
Yes. In fact, if you want to close this so we could chat a little bit.
Yeah, I would
Um,
love to, and you can see my cool reading glasses. All right.
oh, there you go. Yes, indeed. Um, in college, I was fascinated by, well, actually, it's prior to college because my sister had told us when we were kids, when she was in college, that she studied she had studied about how the Moors were in Spain and how their language had affected and contributed to the Spanish language. So that was fascinating to me. So when I was in college, then I decided to learn about that. And I did a minor in Spanish and I wrote a paper about like when the Moors were in Spain and how they influenced the language. And like,
Wow, how synchronistic, because they talk about that in this book. And I want to say, what a treasure and rare jewel Sharon is. Like, she's like, when I was in college, I was interested in how Arabic, was Spanish was influenced by Arabic. And I was thinking about, I never went to college. I went to the Marine Corps, everybody. But, but most people I know,
that's
like, when I
fine.
was in college, I was like, I tried a threesome and got hammered. It's like, I tried crack once. You're like, so God bless you, Sharon,
Thank
honestly,
you.
yeah, it's great. Anyway.
Yeah, it's very very interesting and I was actually friends and I had a couple boyfriends in the end that were Arabs and I learned Arabic from them. So they taught me like how to talk about like how to speak it and also how to write it. And then I took an Arabic 101 class where you know, actually put that into practice. So,
Wow,
it
that's
was cool.
so interesting that you were compelled. I didn't realize that was the reason. I know that I always knew you were interested in Arabic, but for some reason, how I missed the really obvious stuff. Yeah,
No,
that's
no, I
amazing. And you
don't
wrote a
know if I
paper about
ever
it too.
said
That's
it to anybody.
I
Yeah.
know there is a lot, even in the English language, there's a ton of influence, like any word that begins with AL, like
Hmm.
alcohol or,
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Yeah. In Spanish, like almohada is a pillow, but that's from the Arabic, and I might be butchering it, but it's like almohadda or something like that.
And,
And
you
then
know, uh,
alacran, which is scorpion, that's the Spanish word, and I think it comes from al-aqrab, which is a
oh,
scorpion in Arabic.
what is it?
Al-aqrab.
Al-Aqrab.
And
Mhm.
in Spanish, it's alacran. And like when people say in Spanish, they say God willing or like hopefully, they say ojalá. In Arabic, it's inshallah. Inshallah.
Ooh. So it's kind of like they're separated by an ocean for a while, and no. And then, so that's everybody. That's what we're told, right? We're told that Spanish was totally influenced by the Moors because of everything we learned in history.
Mm-hmm.
But then also use your discernment to think of, maybe it happened in a different way, but the languages definitely overlap. So maybe it comes from one other root language, could it be? Maybe Phoenician or I don't know, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
it's
who
interesting to
knows?
open it all up, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. It doesn't obviously take away from anything. Anyway, you guys get it.
Well,
Anyway,
here's an interesting bit, and I'm not one to you know me, I'm not one to remember dates and specifics about a history. That is unless it's interesting or fascinating to me, right? But I remember these dates because I wrote the paper about them, and this there were very interesting dates, right? So allegedly the Moors were in Spain from 711 until 1492 when they were kicked out by what Ferdinand and when Columbus sailed the ocean blue allegedly.
because they knew they were about to get a shitload of gold. Could it be? Like, guys, we're going to get a lot of gold. We don't need these Arabs here anymore. But that's what we're told, right? But who
Who
knows what was
knows?
really going on, right? Because, 5 years ago, the whole world was shut down because so many people were dying, right? So, I mean, sorry, I just had a bunch of pens in my pocket. I'm just crazy. So yeah, in that way, we could look at it, what was really going down. But anyway, that's not what this is about. It's just interesting to look into
Side.
language for sure. Always been fascinated. I remember there was an episode of MacGyver, bringing it back to MacGyver. We always do here, where he was in Alaska or somewhere, and he came across somebody in the wild. It might have been a woman, I can't remember. And he's like, by a fire. It's MacGyver shit. Him by a fire in Alaska, just runs across a woman. And and he's like speaking all these languages to her, trying different ones. And I'm like, whoa, he knows all those languages. He's like English. She's like, parlez-vous, habla,
Yeah.
parle.
Yeah.
And then he's like Ruski, and then she like laughs or whatever. So it's always been interesting to me that you could have this kind of cipher, and be able to speak to everybody. Because I really do feel like that Tower of Babel story resonates, and think of what a barrier we have just with the people of a giant country on the other side of the ocean. It's like real big. And you ever heard of the Russian tortoise? It comes from that area of Russia. Anyway,
No.
that country that we probably have a lot of people in common with Russia, right? But we're always, all the propaganda says we should hate them and we speak a different language. Imagine if we spoke the same language as those people. Whoa, we would probably, it would be crazy.
It
Anyway,
would be different for sure.
right?
And not
So,
only is language different, but their alphabet is like a different script or whatever you would call that. So it's like you can't, even if you wanted to try to understand, you first have to learn that.
yeah. Interesting stuff. I think Russian would be interesting to learn.
Yeah, it would be.
Niet.
I would eventually like to learn something about it, but I'm just like I have already so many other languages I want to learn.
My Duolingo is already like is already quad. Anyway,
Yeah.
trying to
So
make
I don't know
more
what
jokes.
I mean, I'm still doing Italian and I'm doing all right. Um I was able to off topic quickly. I was able to talk to a real Italian over the weekend because we went to Zion National Park.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice experience. Very beautiful country, beautiful canyon, amazing, gorgeous. But yeah, we were on this shuttle to get to the point where we were going to start hiking, and this Italian guy was on the shuttle, but we didn't know, like I didn't know him or anything. We just ended up getting off the shuttle, and then we asked a quick question to the um the shuttle driver, and then he asked a question and I heard his accent. I was like, he's Italian. So when he was done, I was like, I hear an Italian accent. He's like, yeah, and then he's like, you heard it. Yeah, that's the dead giveaway or whatever. And we and Cody and I ended up hiking with him the whole time.
Oh, cool.
It was like a friggin' what was it, like a 4.5 hour hike, almost 5 hour. It was 8 miles, but we did some side hikes, like we would get off trail and look at some vistas and some views, and then we get back on. We just took our time. We were just doing it very slow. But it was a
That's the way
beautiful
to do
view
it.
at the end. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But our feet were tired by the end, because it was 8 miles total. So we were just like, okay, our feet need some rest.
What are you guys hiking in? What kind of shoes?
I was just in some like New Balance sneakers
Oh yeah, that's good then.
because I still don't have, like, I used to have a pair of hiking boots, but they're kind of messed up right now. So, um,
You
I need to find a new pair of,
cool.
so I had a pair of sneakers. I was like, I'll just hike in these. It wasn't bad. It was perfect. It was fine.
That
Except at
sounds
the
like a
end when
lot
your
of fun
feet are
though.
tired. But hmm?
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
In that,
I
oh,
almost
that's what I
didn't
was.
want to do the hike because I heard it was 8 miles and I was like, I don't feel like I could do 8 miles right now.
Like,
But Cody's like, okay, then I guess we're just gonna leave. We're just gonna go home now because that was the point of coming here. And I'm like, fine, I'll do the freaking hike.
good for you, Cody. You're a brave man.
Ah. But we stayed in this cool place called Zion Ponderosa Ranch
Oh,
Resort or something like that. And they had all kinds of living accommodations. They had like they had like tiny homes, they had glamping tents, they had like these wagons, covered wagons. They had all kind of stuff. Very, very interesting. And bigger places for people, like for families and groups. And when we got there, we had I found it all on the way. Like we didn't know we were going to stay. We were just like, we're like, we'll just find a place. So I
cool.
looked it up like when we were driving through Page, I think in Arizona. I was like, you know what? Okay, let's see what's nearby. And I found that place and we set our target there. But it was like kind of in the middle of nowhere a little bit. But it was like close
Nice.
enough to, it was like 20 minutes away from the east entrance to Zion. So it was not, not bad. So Cody was like, "Yeah, let's check it out." So we went and we go up to the lobby and we talked to the guy and he was like, "Oh, we're fully booked. We're fully booked." And I was like, "You sure you don't have like anything? You don't have like anything left?" He's like, "Let me check." And he's like, "We have one thing available." And it was like a glamping tent thing. And it
Nice.
was like a so the bathrooms were in another building. They were in the pool building. So we had to walk a little ways to go to the bathroom if we needed. So the like in the night before we went to
Oh,
bed, I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. So we had to like walk in the dark. Uh,
that's cool
but
though.
I'd never done we neither of us had ever glamped before. So and I didn't like put two and two together until we were there that because I never really like I've heard the word, but I never put it together that it was glamorous camping. I was like, okay. I'm like, oh, because Cody was like pointing out stuff in the room, like, oh, maybe they did this to like decorate it, make it look more nice. And I was like, oh, is that why it's glamorous? Is that what glamping is? Glamorous camping?
That's something I would do. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my
Oh,
God. Yeah.
ridiculous.
That's hilarious. That's so funny. What was it like a cabin, like a little cabin or something or a
It
tent?
was like it was like a tent, but it was bigger. It was like you could stand up in the tent and it had like a queen bed in the middle and then two small twins on the side. Like when you first walk in and then um yeah, it was fine. It worked. And then they had like little mini heaters. They you could plug stuff in. So they had a light and
Oh,
mini
cool.
heaters and stuff that you could turn them on at night when it got
That
cold.
sounds awesome though.
Yeah, it was good.
And you stayed what, 2 nights, you said?
Well, it was just only one night
Oh, the
because
one. Okay.
we had stayed in Flagstaff
Oh,
on the way in, on the way up. And then we had just less, like we didn't have to drive as much. So instead of 6 hours, we only drove like 4 hours from Flagstaff,
amazing.
four ish, three and a half, maybe. I don't know. So
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I ran into somebody that was obsessed with Sedona somewhere. Had a great conversation. Thought about you guys. David Lynch only had one room for the night. Yes, exactly, Cody.
Cody kept saying that he looks like David Lynch.
Were you guys on the Lost Highway though? Um,
Mm,
I was gonna say, so rewind to the part where you found out it was 8 miles, the hike. Sharon was all like, 8 mile? What do I look like, Eminem?
I know.
Sorry, I couldn't.
I was like, how about no?
How about no? What's up, Quiet Sparky Bear? Good to see you. He's got like perfect attendance, See, he's always in our chat. I love it.
Perfect
Perfect
attendance.
attendance goes to you, Quiet Sparky Bear, present. Here we go.
Perfect
Uh,
attendance of the month.
yeah, he's always here. Cool. We got to go hiking soon, buddy. What's going on? It's getting nice out there. Let's get together. Uh,
Indeed.
what was I gonna say? Yeah, so no, that's amazing. Get outside, everybody. I like when we stop and tell our little stories about what we've been up to. It's
Yeah,
really cool.
I forgot all about that I hadn't mentioned it because we just got back on Sunday.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. Let's bring it back up. Where were we? We were
And the guy who was in search for the universal language. Was there anything you wanted to say about that spot? About all this?
um no, I think we're good for now. I'm trying to remember what kind of Arab are you? No, I think we're good for if it comes back to me, yeah. Let's
Let's see. Where
Where were
where
we?
was I? He told the boy?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Or no, wait. Oh, Al Fayoum's in Egypt. What kind of Arab are
Oh
you?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Arab doesn't realize that he's a Spanish shepherd boy. All right. That's a good luck omen, the Englishman said after the fat Arab had gone out. If I could, I'd write a huge encyclopedia just about the words luck and coincidence. That's funny. How about synchronicity
Mm-hmm.
and omens? And anyway, it's with those words that the universal language is written. He told the boy it was no coincidence that he had met him with Urim and Thummim in his hand, and he asked the boy if he too were in search of the alchemist. I'm looking for a treasure, said the boy, and immediately he regretted having said it. But the Englishman appeared not to attach any importance to it. In a way, so am I, he said. I don't even know what alchemy is, the boy was saying when the warehouse boss called them to come outside. That was me, little boy. I was like, what's all this alchemy stuff about?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we've been saying this earlier in the podcast a bunch, right? That's why he's more of the true alchemist because he doesn't know. It's all there,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. If you want to be an alchemist, just work with what you got. Be grateful. That's the gold. Gratefulness is the gold. And all the lead is what you're given. It's this shit we're given. This shit life. That's how you can look at it, right? This shitty life. Or you could say, you know what? I stumbled across the Oversharon show. How lucky am I? And you could have a great life. You could be like, look, my life will never be the same now. I get to hear these two amazing voices and beautiful perspective that does nothing but make me feel good about myself. How lucky am I? There's your perspective for the weekend, everybody.
I was going to point out
Oh,
how
yeah.
up like if you go back
Oh,
to where we were reading earlier, you don't have to. Um he's saying that something about the universal language is on page. Yeah, and so if you guys remember, the little boy had talked. Well, I keep calling him a little boy. He's just like a teenager, but like the shepherd boy keeps talking about how there's this universal language with him and his sheep and stuff like that, right?
oh, yeah.
And this Englishman's talking about a universe. He's in search of the universal language. And this
Wow.
boy has already experienced like what a universal language could be, or at least the inklings of it, because he has that with his sheep. This
Yeah.
Englishman's looking for it and he doesn't really know anything about it really. He thinks, "Oh, I learned Esperanto. That'll be a universal language, right? That I can talk to everybody with." But he doesn't realize, I mean, he does kind of realize that it's has to do with luck and coincidence and omens and synchronicities, but he's still not quite sure. And I think he thinks that the alchemist is going to give him that information about what is the universal language.
He's still walking on the beach in combat boots
Yeah.
instead of letting
He's
his,
not grounding.
that's the real tragedy, right? The beaches of Normandy, all those guys, I'm gonna go to hell, are
That's funny.
we're storming the beaches not barefoot and not being able to ground. That's the real tragedy. All right, I'm going to hell. It's all right, guys. I was in the
Okay,
Marines. I could make these
so
jokes.
so
Sorry.
speaking of Normandy, when we were in Flagstaff one night, the first night on our way up, we met a couple kids from Normandy. They were on like a 3-week vacation with their parents. And
A
I like I
three
don't
week
speak enough
tour.
French, so I was speaking to them in English. But yeah, they I think they were struggling to speak. The girl didn't really speak much, but her brother, I think it was her brother, because I don't know. I don't think they were a couple, but not sure. They said they were there with their parents. So, but yeah, the boy could speak more English. So he's, I said where they were from. He said Normandy. So that's funny.
They're
See?
probably not even like from Normandy. Normandy, it's like when where are you from? I'm like New York, I'm like New York
Yeah.
City is. I'm like near there. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
still, maybe they are. And I'm not trying to take away from that. That's cool. What a crazy, yeah.
Yeah. They were
Because
going to be in one city every day. They were like nuts, man. They were crazy. They started in Los Angeles and they were like on day 5 or something. And every day they were in a different town.
wow.
It was crazy. I was like, that's a lot, dude. For 3 weeks, I'd go insane.
Yeah. Well, it's like being on tour. Jesus.
Yeah. Uh, yeah,
I mean,
totally.
God bless them, all right.
I know. So, shall we keep reading?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll bring it up right now. There we go. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. There we go.
You want me to keep reading?
Yeah, also, yeah, you could keep reading. My voice is, I'm good, but if you want to keep going. When you said universal language at one point, you made a point, and I looked up the time was 3:31, 33 seconds. I was like, whoa,
Nice.
33133. Yeah, okay. Right here, we were at the camel.
12:34 here.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
five,
All
six.
right. I'm the leader of the caravan, said a dark-eyed bearded man. I hold the power of life and death for every person I take with me. The desert is a capricious lady, and sometimes she drives men crazy.
Huh?
There were almost 200 people gathered there and 400 animals, camels, horses, mules, and fowl. In the crowd were women, children, and a number of men with swords at their belts and rifles slung on their shoulders. The Englishman had several suitcases filled with books. There was a babble of noise, and the leader had to repeat himself several times for everyone to understand what he was saying. So, just quickly off top, I mean, on the topic, but he mentions mules. So, while we were on the road, Cody and I were talking about mules because it was just, we saw horses and donkeys and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if we saw donkeys, but we just ended up looking up what mules are, and that was an interesting little
Oh,
side.
mule.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
what did I sound like I said?
I thought you said meal. I don't know.
Oh, mule.
I'm a
Sorry,
Yankee, I'm over here.
Yeah,
What do you thought? You got
mule.
a meal? Like a happy meal? What? No, sorry. No, you're good. You sound better. You're a native Spanish speaker and you speak better English than me. So it's, I mean, you're
No,
raised.
it's fine. I sometimes my words are a little too, like, I used to, like, years ago when I would, call into customer service or something. I would say my name so quickly that they would think I said Jen. And I
Sharon.
didn't realize I was doing it. They'd be like, "What's your name, ma'am?" I'd say Sharon. And they'd like, "Jen?" So, yeah.
Sharon, like over Sharon, write it
Yeah.
down. It'll be
But anyway,
popular one day.
interesting. Mules are usually, if I'm not mistaken, the father is the donkey and the mother is the mare, the horse. So,
Oh. And they're
yeah.
sterile, right?
Yeah. But the reason that they make mules is because the combination of them of the two makes them like resilient and sturdier than the horse or the donkey separately. It like makes a good combo.
I get it.
So like
Yeah.
it takes traits from the horse, it takes the some good traits from the horse and good traits from the donkey, and that makes for like a good pack animal.
Mm,
Yeah.
that
So,
makes sense.
yeah.
It's like a liger. You can
Yeah.
cross a tiger and a lion,
Yeah.
but they can't mate.
Yeah.
And they're huge. I saw one once. I think I told you I had a zoo
No.
in South Beach or Miami. There's like an island because when you go to South Beach, you go across because it's like the intercoastals there, and then South Beach is the island. So some of them have on the bridge, there's like an exit and there's another little island, and there was a kind of a zoo there, and it was more of a sanctuary, really. They had tons of birds that people probably, parrots and giant like cockatoos and stuff that people probably just donated, and they were really cool. You could show them, they like talk to them anyway. But they had a liger, and the thing would roar every once in a while, and it was like you'd shake. It was like giant, and it was on the other side of this glass on one side of the cage, so you could get right up to it. And I'm like, man, that thing would just eat all of us if that glass wasn't here. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, ligers and mules
Tigers
and
and ligers and bears.
panda bears. Oh my, ligers and mules and panda bears. Oh my. All right,
Oh my.
interesting. Here you go. Good thing about the mule though. We got it straight now. So I was curious too.
Yeah, that's why we looked it up because we were both curious. All right. There are a lot of people, sorry, a lot of different people here, and each has his own God. But the only God I serve is Allah or Allah. And in his name, I swear that I will do everything possible once again to win out over the desert. But I want each and every one of you to swear by the God you believe in that you will follow my orders no matter what. In the desert, disobedience means death.
Yeah,
That's cool that he respects everybody else's beliefs, you know?
I like it. Very
There,
practical, down to earth approach.
yeah. There was a murmur from the crowd. Each was swearing quietly to his or her own God. The boy swore to Jesus Christ. The Englishman said nothing. I guess he was an atheist or something, even though he believes in the Urim Thummim from the Bible. I'm just kidding. And the murmur lasted longer than a simple vow would have. The people were also praying to heaven for protection. A long note was sounded on a bugle, and everyone mounted up. The boy and the Englishman had bought camels, and climbed uncertainly onto their backs. The boy felt sorry for the Englishman's camel, loaded down as he was with the cases of books. Can you imagine? It's a lot. There's no such thing as coincidence, said the Englishman, picking up the conversation where it had been interrupted in the warehouse. I'm here because a friend of mine heard of an Arab who. But the caravan began to move, and it
Oh,
was impossible to hear what the Englishman was saying. The boy knew what he was about to describe, though, the mysterious chain that links one thing to another, the same chain that had caused him to become a shepherd, that had caused his recurring dream, that had brought him to a city near Africa to find a king and to be robbed in order to meet a crystal merchant. And the closer one gets to realizing his personal legend, the more that personal legend becomes his true reason for being, thought the boy. The caravan moved toward the east. It traveled during the morning, halted when the sun was at its strongest, and resumed late in the afternoon. The boy spoke very little with the Englishman, who spent most of his time with his books. I mean, reading while you're on a camel, that's tough.
This guy's got
The
skills.
boy observed in yeah, the boy observed in silence the progress of the animals and people across the desert. Now everything was quite different from how it was that day they had set out. Then there had been confusion and shouting, the cries of children and the whinnying of animals, all mixed with the nervous orders of the guides and the merchants. But in the desert, there was only the sound of the eternal wind and of the hoofbeats of the animals. Even the guides spoke very little to one another. I've crossed these sands many times, said one of the camel drivers one night, but the desert is so huge and the horizons so distant that they make a person feel small and as if he should remain silent. Ooh, don't speak. The wind speaks. I'm just kidding. All right. The boy understood intuitively what he meant, even without ever having set foot in the desert before. See? Intuition, inner
You're right.
knowing.
I couldn't unmute myself. I was muted and it wouldn't pop
Oh,
back up.
oops.
No, no,
It just,
it's all right. I was just gonna agree with what you were saying about remain silent. I love that.
yeah.
And I'm also getting like a lot of Dune feels here because it's the desert,
Yes, I
you know?
forgot. Good
And
point.
it's yeah, like it really kind of resonates with me with that because you get a lot of that feeling in Frank Herbert's thing about the desert too. You know, there's something about it tests you. It's like the ocean, right? It's like the Castaway with Tom Hanks where he's friends with the volleyball, you know, and he
Mm-hmm.
delivers that one package finally. And so spoiler alert, it's the same thing though, right? You learn so much about yourself. It's like Jesus going into the desert to fast for 40 days or whatever, you know, same kind of thing. I like
Mm.
it.
Silence. Yeah.
The desert and the ocean and things like that, they're just these places of barren lands or like wastelands, right? So the only thing there is yourself, right? So,
Mm.
all right.
You with your own thoughts.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see, where was I? The boy understood intuitively what he meant, even without ever having set foot in the desert before. Whenever he saw the sea or a fire, he fell silent. See, he's talking about that too, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Impressed by their elemental force. And they talk about gazing at fire, right? Like, what is that called? Fire gazing or candle gazing or something?
Yeah, and
It's
there's
like supposed to put you into like some meditative state or trance or something.
there's something about fire. It's like smoke, right? Like it's synchronistic because it doesn't seem real, especially fire. Like as a kid, I'm always like, what the fuck is that, man? And nobody's ever explained it to me. What it really is. I'm like, well, you know, what happens with elements and they're changing into gases and that. But what the fuck is going on? Because that flame doesn't look like anything else I've ever seen, man. What is that flame? Well, you know, the expression of energy went, no, but what the hell is that? You know, it
Right.
kind of puts the physical universe on its head when you have this, like, you know, I get,
I
maybe
sent
I'm
you a
crazy, you know, maybe I'm
No,
just,
you're fine. I sent you a video that's kind of like that, but it's about waterfalls. I sent it
yeah.
into Telegram.
Exactly.
The
Yeah,
guy's going,
I
but what
watched it.
the
I'm
F
sorry.
are? Did you
Yeah,
see it?
I did see, and I think I've seen it before actually,
Okay.
but I no, I watched it again like two or three times, and it yeah, we'll share it in our chat, everybody, if you're in there.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send
Uh,
it in.
amazing. But
But
go ahead, you were saying.
yeah, no, I was just going to say that that's like that too. There's like a lot of questions where you're just like, but what the F is it?
Yeah, fire is
Ah.
like this element. It's like water in a way, you know. It's a water's a different medium though, I think. And we exist in oxygen, so when we touch water, we have the sensation and it's crazy and we can jump in it. And I have this feeling, but fire is just it's like it's a color almost, you know, it's like anyway. So yeah, obviously I'm running bits, everybody. I think that'd be a funny bit to just be like, what the fuck is fire really? But fire gazing, that's what I wanted to say. Yes, I've been doing a lot of fires. We have a fireplace here, And this winter especially, it was a cold one, so we were doing a lot of fires, and I did a lot of time fire gazing, and it really is, there's something about it so meditative. It just keeps your attention, I guess, maybe too. And it's always constantly changing, and there's things you could see. It's like a Rorschach test, and you got the coals that are always changing, and there's faces in there, and I got some
Yeah.
crazy pictures actually I should go through. And yeah, so I would highly recommend that, or even a candle. It's good for meditating, holds your attention. But yeah, I don't know if I've heard of fire gazing. That's interesting. That's why I
Well,
just,
just candle. They say like
oh, candle.
gazing at the flame of a candle. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's like you can say fire gazing, I guess. I don't know. I made it up. Just kidding.
Don't graze on the flame, everybody, because that would hurt. The English language is tricky. Gaze, don't graze. I just said gaze in a non-hateful way. Look at me. All right, everybody, back to the I'm
Okay.
so funny. I just like puns. Okay, go
Yeah, that was a good one. I didn't even notice it.
ahead. Thanks.
Um, all right. Here's the boy again. I've learned things from the sheep and I've learned things from Crystal, he thought. I can learn something from the desert too. It seems old and wise. The wind never stopped, and the boy remembered the day he had sat at the fort in Tarifa with this same wind blowing in his face. It reminded him of the wool from his sheep who were now seeking food and water in the fields of Andalusia, as they always had. They're not my sheep anymore, he said to himself, without nostalgia. They must be used to their new shepherd and have probably already forgotten me. That's good. Creatures like the sheep that are used to traveling know about moving on. Oh, letting go, moving on, right?
Yeah.
So he can learn that from them too.
Yeah. You're learning
He,
from the like what like Crow says, right? There is no lie in nature. You
mm-hmm,
learn from nature, right? There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
He thought of the merchant's daughter and was sure that she had probably married, perhaps to a baker or to another shepherd who could read and could tell her exciting stories. After all, he probably wasn't the only one. But he was excited at his intuitive understanding of the camel or of the camel driver's comment. Maybe he was also learning the universal language that deals with the past and the present of all people. Hunches, his mother used to call them. The boy was beginning to understand that intuition is really a sudden immersion of the soul into the universal current of life. Wow. Where the histories of all people are connected, and we are able to know everything because it's all written there.
Oh, we should stop right there before we say
Yeah, I think
Maktub.
so too.
Maktub. Yeah, what a great way. And I wonder if this is Paulo's mom told him that or something. But anyway, it's a great way to define what intuition is, right? I mean, doesn't get any better than that. Let me go. La 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 la. What's he say exactly? The boy was beginning to understand that intuition is really a sudden immersion. I just talked about being immersed in water. That's funny. A sudden immersion of the soul into the universal current of life.
And what water has currents too.
Yeah, and that's why intuition and water and cups, like in the tarot. Ooh, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
In the tarot, you get the cups and all that, right? That's what they're talking about. Water is a great analogy. He's using it here in a different way, but same, different, but same. Where the histories of all people are connected, and we are able to know everything because it is all written there. What's that remind you of? The Akashic
I
record.
was just going to freaking say that.
I stole your thunder.
Shut the hell up.
Sharon,
As soon as
everybody.
you were done reading, I was going to say that reminds me of the Akashic
You
Records.
sent it to me telepathically.
I did.
You did because it popped in right then.
Dude, that's nuts. We haven't even said that word in ages. That's crazy.
I know.
Nuts.
Wow. Put the needle on the Akashic record when the drum beat goes like You know that song? Put the needle
No.
on the record. It's a pump up the volume, pump up the volume,
Oh,
pump up the volume, dance, dance.
maybe I have heard it.
It's just like a beat. It's a song with just a beat. It's like from the 80s. It's like if you're watching a movie with Eddie Murphy in it, that's what's going to be in the background. That's Axel F. Anyway,
Do you want to keep reading that little bit?
yeah, perfect. I love that part though. We had to definitely stop and shout that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Maktub, the boy said, remembering the crystal merchant. The desert was all sand in some stretches and rocky in others. When the caravan was blocked by a boulder, it had to go around it. If there was a large rocky area, they had to make a major detour. If the sand was too fine for the animals' hooves, they sought a way where the sand was more substantial. In some places, the ground was covered with the salt of dried up lakes. The animals
Wow.
balked at such places. Yeah, right. This also reminds me of Wheel of Time, in the wastelands, the Aiel, where they're from. The animals balked at such places, and the camel drivers were forced to dismount and unburden their charges. The drivers carried the freight themselves over such treacherous footing, jeez, and then reloaded the camels. Smart camels. It's cool that they're taking care of them and not like forcing them over the. If a guide were to fall ill or die, the camel drivers would draw lots and appoint a new one. But all this happened for one basic reason. No matter how many detours and adjustments it made, the caravan moved toward the same compass point. Once obstacles were overcome, it returned to its course, sighting on a star that indicated the location of the oasis. So that right there, right, there's a star that
Mm,
indicated the location of his oasis. So it's kind of biblical. They're on camels searching
mm,
this oasis where the Englishman is looking for an alchemist who's 200 years old, right? So it's really
mm.
some good signs here. When the people saw that the star shining in the morning sky, there you go, the morning star, Lucifer, right? Venus. They knew,
Venus?
yeah, I'm your Venus. There you go. They knew they were on the right course toward water, palm trees, shelter, and other people. It was only the Englishman who was unaware of all this. He was, for the most part, immersed in reading his books. Again, not in the
Not
moment,
in the present moment.
right? There you go. The camels, that's like Cody earlier's his little thing in the chat.
Yes, yes. That's so funny.
The boy, too, had his book and had tried to read it during the first few days of the journey, but he found it much more interesting to observe the caravan and listen to the wind. As soon as he learned to know his camel better and to establish a relationship with him, he threw the book away. Although the boy had developed a superstition that each time he opened the book he would learn something important, he decided it was an unnecessary burden. He became friendly with the camel driver who traveled alongside him. At night, as they sat around the fire, the boy related to the driver his adventures as a shepherd. During one of these conversations, the driver told of his own life. I used to live near El Karoum. El Karoum, he said. I had my orchard, my children, and a life that would change not at all until I died. One year, when the crop was the best ever, we all went to Mecca, and I satisfied the only unmet obligation in my life. I could die happy, and that made me feel good. One day the earth began to tremble and the Nile overflowed its banks. It was something that I thought can happen only to others, never me. My neighbors feared they would lose all their olive trees in the flood, and my wife was afraid that we would lose our children. I thought that everything I owned would be destroyed. The land was ruined, and I had to find some other way to earn a living. So now I'm a camel driver. But that disaster taught me to understand the word of Allah. People need not fear the unknown if they are capable of achieving what they need and want.
Mm. Wow, dude.
Wow. We are afraid of losing what we have, whether it's our life or our possessions and property.
Mm.
But this fear evaporates when we understand that our life stories and the history of the world were written by the same hand.
Maktub, it is written.
Maktub. Sometimes their caravan met with another. One always had something that the other needed. as if everything were indeed written by one hand. As they sat around the fire, the camel drivers exchanged information about windstorms and told stories about the desert. At other times, mysterious hooded men would appear. They were Bedouins who did surveillance along the caravan route. They provided warnings about thieves and barbarian tribes. They came in silence and departed the same way, dressed in black garments that showed only their eyes.
Hmm.
What? One night, a camel driver came to the fire where the Englishman and the boy were sitting. There are rumors of tribal wars, he told them. The three fell silent. The boy noted that there was a sense of fear in the air, even though no one said anything. Once again, he was experiencing the language without words, the universal language.
His intuition, could it be?
Yeah. Once you get into the desert, there's no going
Oh, the
back.
Englishman asked, did you read that?
Oh, oh, yeah, I don't think I did. You're right. I was so obsessed with the other one. The Englishman asked if they were in danger. Once you get into the desert, there's no going back, said the camel driver. And when you can't go back, you have to worry only about the best way of moving forward. The rest is up to Allah, including the danger. Yeah, great answer, by the
Hmm.
way, fucking
Hmm.
Yoda. And he concluded by saying the mysterious word Maktub.
Which means it is written.
There is no try, young Padawan learner. Like, all right. You should pay more attention to the caravan, the boy said to the Englishman after the camel driver had left. We make a lot of detours, but we're always heading for the same destination. And you ought to read more about the world, he answered the Englishman. Books are like caravans in that respect. It's so funny. And he just got rid of his book, right?
Yeah.
That's why you can't tell no one nothing. All
Hmm.
right. The immense collection of people and animals began to travel faster. The days had always been silent, but now even the nights when the travelers were accustomed to talking around the fires had also become quiet. And one day, the leader of the caravan made the decision that the fire should no longer be lighted,
Mm.
so as not to attract attention to the caravan. Navarak. That's how I say it backwards if you're interested.
Hmm.
The travelers adopted the practice of arranging the animals in a circle at night, sleeping together in the center as protection against the nocturnal cold, and the leader posted armed sentinels at the fringes of the group. The Englishman was unable to sleep one night. He called to the boy, and they took a walk along the dunes surrounding the encampment. Dune,
Hmm.
Arrakis, desert planet. There was a full moon. Ooh. And the
Mm.
boy told the Englishman the story of his life. The Englishman was fascinated with the part about the progress achieved at the crystal shop after the boy began working there. See, he's all like, "Yeah, you're making money." That's the principle that governs all things, he said. In alchemy, it's called the soul of the world. When you want something with all your heart, that's when you are closest to the soul of the world. It's always a positive force.
Hmm.
He also said that this was not just a human gift, that everything on the face of the earth had a soul, whether mineral, vegetable, or animal, or even just a simple thought.
Hmm.
That's profound, right? That a
Hmm.
simple thought has a soul. I mean, uh,
All is mind.
yeah.
Kybalion.
And it really lends credence to the whole thing, like about Jesus saying it's better to gouge your eyes out
Yeah.
and to look at things that might tempt you. It's like just
And
nah,
lust
just let it
after
go,
them.
brah.
Yeah.
You're better than that, brah. You know, and really it like has its own soul now. So when you put a thought out there, it's like, what? And it's okay if you
Yeah.
do, right? It's whatever you think and it's fine. But
It
as you
can
start to
become an
clean up,
egregore, right?
yes, Sharon and Egregore, exactly. And this plays in the next line. He's like, everything on earth is being continuously transformed because the earth is alive and it has a soul. Okay, right. Or I'll keep reading because I think what I was going to say, he's going to say. We are part of that soul, so we rarely recognize that it is working for us. But in the crystal shop, you probably realize that even the glasses were collaborating in your success. And what I was going to say is, if our thoughts have a soul and everything is continually being transformed and the earth is alive, then because it has a soul, then our thoughts are technically transforming the world, is what you're saying, right?
Mm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
everything on earth, how, in this realm, whatever you feel like, whatever your thought structure. Yeah, it's the thoughts that are doing it at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. The boy thought,
Yeah, I'm
right?
just getting it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So oh yeah, go ahead if you want. That'd be great. I'm gonna take some
Oh, you
some
want me to read?
yeah, you want to finish? We're probably almost done. So if you
All
want
right.
to, or I could keep going.
Go ahead.
The boy thought about that for a while as he looked at the moon and the bleached in the bleached sands. I've watched the caravan as it crossed the desert, he said. The caravan and the desert speak the same language, and it's for that reason that the desert allows the crossing. It's going to test the caravan's every step to see if it's in time, and if it is, we will make it to the oasis. I love how this guy just looks at everything that way. He's like, it is what it is, man. We either make it or we die, dude. What do
Mm-hmm.
you want from me? He's like, all my orchards, right, are gone and olive trees.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm here. If either of us had joined this caravan based only on personal courage, but without understanding that language, this journey would have been much more difficult.
Who was
Cool.
speaking?
Oh, I think I got that wrong. Yeah.
I don't know who.
Who was
Okay.
speaking? Wait,
The
maybe.
boy's thinking, right? I have
Yeah.
watched the caravan cross the desert. And then I don't know who says if either of us had joined this caravan. Maybe it's the Englishman
Oh. Yeah, I guess it is. Oh, I got that wrong.
or
Sweet.
the other caravan driver or whatever.
Oh, okay. If either of us, or yes, I read that, much more difficult. They had stood there looking at the moon. That's the magic of omens, said the boy. I've seen how the guides read the signs of the desert and how the soul of the caravan speaks to the soul of the desert. That's pretty cool. The Englishman said, I'd better pay more attention to the caravan and I'd better read your books, said the boy. See, I like how
Oh, they
yeah,
swap for a little bit.
yeah,
They're gonna look at each other's perspectives, basically.
which is great. And it's funny because right as we ended, it was exactly 4:04. That's so funny.
Oh wow.
I
11
th
4 104:11 when you said that.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think this might be a good. We've been going for
Yeah.
about 2 hours, so yeah. Well, let's see what's going on in the chat. All right. So let's talk about this too. So they're starting to see each other's perspective, and again, it's because why is this happening? I don't know. Could it be this outside threat? And now they're both like,
Brings them
oh,
together.
fuck. And the Englishman's like, maybe I better pull my head out of my ass, and
Hmm.
but the boy is like, wow, this guy's got some wisdom, right? The way he's looking at things, maybe I should look at a couple of his books instead of just totally, so it's the balance, it's the Taoist thing. And it's again, it's interesting that it took this outside force, this outside fear, this unknown danger, right? And now they're looking at things. It's no longer this fun traipse through the desert. It's like, oh, we might get shot now or whatever they were doing back then. Spears, I don't know, swords. Anyway, I think they had guns. I can't remember. But yeah, I like it. And what a great place to end looking at the moon in the desert. I mean, it's beautiful. You were just in the desert. Well, almost, right? That's the desert, isn't it, where you were?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Uh,
It's it reminded me a little bit of Sedona too, just because of the red rocks and the giant, like
It's like,
massive canyon.
yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Hiking season indeed, says Quiet Sparky Bear. David Lynch only had one room for the night. Oh, here we are. There. A tone. If they were death camps, why did he say?
I don't know what he was saying that for.
Surprised you didn't get a picture with the guy NBD. Oh, they must have been talking about something. I've seen Brian Regan live a couple times. Nice. Cool. Yeah, we're just going to be the funniest people in the FEMA camps if we end up there, but we probably
Oh,
won't because
that's sad.
if our outlook is that, then we just slide out of it like, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll be the prison guards. Did I tell you? You ever hear that joke?
We'll escape through a mirror.
Did you ever hear that joke? It's like my uncle died in Auschwitz. Like, yeah, he fell out of the guard tower.
Oh my God.
That's like one of those terrible jokes. Yeah. Not my uncle, everybody. I've just heard that. And I think
Terrible,
it's
horrible.
it's a misdirection. You see what you did there? You thought he was Jewish, but then you realized he was a Nazi, his uncle, right? It was a
Yeah.
whoa. Anyway, that's called misdirection. Thank you, M. Night Shyamalan. That misdirection was brought to you by M. Night Shyamalan. All right.
Shamalama ding dong.
Shamalama ding dong. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. I really appreciate it. Let's fire gaze sometime too. Yeah, if I when I make it to Arizona, Tony, we're totally gonna hang out in a Coriolis storm. And I will show you what the sand that can peel flesh from bone. Anyway, it's more Dune lore. No, I had a great time today, and I like where the story is going. It feels like even though there's this danger and maybe foreshadowing, of things to come, it looks up, looks like it's going to a positive place. Nobody's in despair. They're kind of looking at what they're grateful for, and they're in the desert and they could be shot at or whatever, killed, but they're still in good spirits. They have this fear of the unknown, which sometimes it's healthy to have a respect and a fear, but they're using it in a positive way, right? They're using it to meld together and to say, how can we be better? So I
How
like
can
it
we
because,
balance ourselves?
and it goes to show that even though we were a little judgy with this Englishman in the beginning,
Mhm.
sometimes when you read this stuff, it does work on you. So there are other ways in. If you read this stuff and get all the knowledge, and then you're in a situation where you see it all and you're like, whoa, this is what they were talking about in that book. That's what I was going to say earlier too about the Englishman. And I might have said it. Kudos to him for actually going out and getting out of the library or his study or wherever he was and
Mhm.
going into the desert and doing it because now he's looking for it. He's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the
Definitely
desert to.
getting a learning experience. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, exactly. You don't have to go to the desert to do this, but if you do, you can get what you're asking for, right? He's knocking on the door. So yeah, amazing.
Yep.
Cool. I love this series. I'm really excited, and I'm excited about upcoming series. And this is nice too, though, because this one is like a personal story, and I feel like we did the Tao, and that one was more of a poem, but this is like a
Yeah.
story about people. So the next one, could it be? It might be
We'll
not a
figure it out,
story.
but
Yeah, a
it
little different.
might be either, shall we say?
Well, we just have
Not
to say people have to wait and see, but I will
okay,
tell
okay.
you that
Yeah.
it's not going
We
to
have
be
an
for
idea for
everybody.
what.
It's
Yeah.
not going to be for everybody. The ears of the lips of knowledge are definitely I don't know. You
Yeah.
guys
Sealed,
sealed with the ears of wisdom and
except
knowledge, and
yeah.
we might have to go over that so we get it better. But anyway, also find that song Englishman in New York. Yeah. And if you ever come to the East Coast, Tony, let me know too, because maybe I can escape if I'm off. All right. So yeah, good stuff. Make sure you go to morelawsmoreproblems.com, click on the Oversharing tab. Several ways to support us there. And we always tell you the best way to support us is to hang out here every Thursday, hang out in the chat, be part of the best chat on the internet, and one of the best at least. I can't make a total claim. I don't know
And
every
the
chat,
Great Pyramid Scheme.
and be part of the. I gotta hang on. I want to make sure I get this exactly right. The Great Pyramid Scheme. It's all at morelawsmoreproblems.com, where it's a pyramid scheme where we're just trying to make everyone, be easier on themselves. It's really. And when you figure it out, you're like, whoa, and you become easier on yourself. And then when people see you being easier on yourself, they're like, sometimes they're repelled. People can't handle truth and they might ridicule you. But that usually, it's like the law of one, where love and light just repels darkness or whatever, right? The light side repels the darkness. So you have love and light and you're just going along. Other people a lot of times are going to want to know how you did it. And
And that's where the Great Pyramid Scheme actually starts working.
yeah, because then you get more chill people in your life. And then all you got to do is give us your firstborn. No, just kidding, everyone. All you have to do is not put us on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah. All you got to do is leave a comment, you know. You could
Like, subscribe.
yeah, you could even make a donation, but we don't want you to like put us on a pedestal. That's all. But just be here in the chat. That's what we really want. We're just saying. Anyway, I feel like I'm done acting now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought I was gonna say one other funny thing, but I got lost in my character there. Anyway, so thank you. Thank you guys a lot. More laws, more problems. We said all that. Like, subscribe, share around. Check us out next Thursday. And what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start over Sharon,
Then you totally stop over Karen.
that's right.
And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live your life.
But maybe we're just trying to tell you how to live a more balanced life.
Precisely. So live your life. Oh, we ain't got no time for haters. Sorry, that's my Rihanna impersonation. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Have a great night. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Ciao, everybody. Bye bye.